Hey everyone, it's Michael again, and welcome to our section 8 of our digital marketing course, where we talk about leveraging conversion rate optimization to be able to drive growth. Okay, so do you guys want to know what's really sad? Did you guys know that only a fifth of businesses are actually satisfied with their conversion rates? 1/5. That's 20%. Which is why smart businesses are making conversion rate optimization, or what we call CRO. It's an integral part of their digital marketing strategy. But conversion rate optimization is a bit of a misnomer. Conversion doesn't mean a sale. It's whatever you define it to be, and unless you define what you mean by conversion, you can't improve the experience. Here is the bottom line. If you want to improve your conversion rates, you must learn to articulate things better and improve the experience so people can perform the action you're asking them to take. In this section, we're going to cover the foundations of an effective digital marketing strategy. Everything from content and advertising to social media and email marketing to SEO and analytics. But to succeed as a digital marketer, you also need to know how to optimize your marketing over time. Making small tweaks that can turn 1% returns into 10% or even higher returns. In this section, we will help you do just that. We'll talk about the optimization methodology. I'm sorry about that. A repeatable process you can go through to improve results on your website. We'll also cover the lingo you need to know as an optimizer, the metrics you need to be measuring, and the roles within your organization that will be responsible for it. So let's begin with some basics. We always have to start with the basics, right? The main goal of optimization is to improve conversion rates of the traffic you already have, and generally with the assets you already have. It's also important to understand that optimization is a dedicated, repeatable process. It's not a one and done activity. You'll work through the process, then begin again. And since you can always improve your results, no matter how much you improve them, you'll continue optimizing as long as your business is open. That's why we describe the CRO process as a cycle. So what is CRO again? That is conversion rate optimization, okay? So you start by identifying your goals. You gather relevant data, analyze it, and create hypotheses. You design your variants, implement technology, and test your hypothesis. Then you analyze your results, which will give you new insight and ideas for new tests. Then the process starts all over again, guys. With optimization and testing, this cycle never ends, at least not if you're doing it right. Now let's talk about what you'll do at each stage of the cycle. So let's first start identifying your goals. The process that starts with a clearly articulated goal is important. Remember, without clear goals, you can't optimize anything. Actually, you can't do anything in life without a goal. You must know what you're trying to achieve. Now keep in mind, home pages are actually one of those difficult pages to optimize because they've got to perform so many different tasks. And everyone wants to prioritize their own goals. The sales team is looking for qualified leads. The acquisition team is looking for how they can convert the traffic into emails. Are you guys getting the idea? Everyone is competing for shelf space on the homepage. But here's the bottom line. A homepage is your "you are here" message for new visitors. They're trying to figure out if your business is relevant to them, and if so, where they are and where they need to go. To optimize this experience, you'll need to set one or more of the three goal types. Number one, an immediate goal, such as clicks on a page or for you to be able to send them to a form for completion. Number two, a campaign goal, such as lead generated or purchases. Or number three, long-term goal, like impacting your long-term value, net revenue, average order value, or even lead quality. The next part is gathering data. Once you've set your goal, you need to set a baseline for your metrics. For each log, your current number, your aspiring number, and your user data. You want to gather that data prior to making any assumptions, which brings us to rule number one for optimizers: leave all assumptions at the door. They literally say that assumptions is the mother of all F-ups. You and everyone else in your business have ideas about what works, what doesn't work, what your visitors are looking for, and more. But those ideas are merely assumptions. There is never a right assumption. You must never make decisions based on assumptions. Test your ideas and let your visitors tell you what works for them. So, where do you get your data? For site metrics, go to Google Analytics. For user behavior metrics, use a tool like True Conversion. For customer and email data, use the data provided by your email service like Infusionsoft, Aweber, or Builderall. For payment data, look at your payment processor, your Stripe, your PayPal. Different types of data are shared in reports like this one from Google Analytics, which tells you about the traffic on the page you're trying to optimize. The next step is assessing and analyzing your data. The key to CRO success is to use relevant data, which you just gathered, right? To be able to develop meaningful optimization campaigns. You're going to review the numbers and ask yourself questions like these. What's my conversion rate? Is it acceptable? Use analytics or CRM data to find the answers, right? Next thing is, another question is, what's hurting my conversion rate? Use the user behavior data to figure this out. Then ask yourselves, how or why is it hurting my conversion rate? To answer this question, you'll move to the next step in the CRO process and develop a hypothesis. So that's the next step, right? Develop your hypothesis. This is where all your optimization begins. If you don't have a hypothesis, you can't optimize because you don't know what you're trying to improve. At this stage of the process, you have your data and you've identified the elements that are likely hurting your conversion rates. Now you need to make some guesses about how you could fix the issue you have identified. So a lot of people will ask me, Michael, how do we create a hypothesis? It's as simple as creating a statement containing these three elements. Number one, the change or approach you plan to test. Number two, who you're targeting with this change. And number three, the outcome you expect to see. So the format will be something like this. We believe that doing A for B will make C happen. Or we believe that doing 1 for 2 will make 3 happen. Or if it's going to make it easier for you, we believe that doing X for Y will make Z happen. Notice that your hypothesis is about your intent. You need to be very precise among the outcome you're aiming for. You also need to be sure it's something you can measure and will improve your results in a specific way. Next move is design your variants. You will use your new hypothesis along with your data to create the variations you're going to test. Keep in mind, testing takes time, not just to create the setup, the tests, but to also run them. And while there's no limit to the number of tests you can run on a site at any given time, if your site doesn't get a lot of traffic, you will need to limit the numbers of tests you run. It simply takes too long to run a test and get a valid results if your site is small. That being the case, if you don't get a lot of traffic, plan to run no more than about 29 tests per year, which means you need to pick the right tests to run. You'll need to hone your ability to identify and justify the page you want to optimize. Once a test is running, you want to monitor it carefully on the very first day it's live. In particular, look for anything that's broken or isn't working as planned. If you've designed a simple test and nothing's broken, it will take 9 to 11 days to get it up running. But hiccups happen. So be prepared for tech issues and other glitches that could add a few days to the timetable. Now, let's look at how that might play out in real-life testing situations. Now, the moving thing that we're going to do, the next thing is changing the button copy. This test is brain dead simple. It only involves a few copy changes, which means it could be set up quickly. But it's not very meaningful and it's not scalable at all. What you learn from this test won't impact other tests in a significant way at all. The next thing is implement your testing technology. Once your variant is made, you want to implement all the necessary technology to make the changes you're testing. You can't do this without the right technology. You're going to need some tools like a visual website optimizer, your Google Analytics, and True Conversion as a particular software you can use. Next thing is, let's analyze the data. After running a test, you need to analyze the results. This gives you the why and fuels your next campaign. During this stage of the process, you perform 5 essential tasks. 1, share lifts or losses. 2, figure out the why. 3, write a report. 4, archive your data. 5, share the results with stakeholders. In your report, you want to include the name of the test, the timeline, the metrics, visually show the variance, and break down the long form numbers. Then move into what you learned from the test and what needs to be done as a result. During analysis, you need to ask these questions. Did you see a lift? Did you see a loss or a null? The next thing you're going to ask yourself is, if results went against the hypothesis, why did this happen? Then you're going to ask yourself, is this worth retesting? Maybe there were unusual circumstances around the test that make the results questionable. You can also ask yourself, how can the data be used in future experiments? Now, use the findings to set new goals and begin the process again. As mentioned earlier, testing and optimizing should become a normal part of your marketing plan. Each test should lead to another, and every small improvement will add up to a significant growth. The lingo that we're going to learn now in this portion, in this section, are the following. You need to know what conversion means. The visitor action you're hoping to improve with the campaign is what a conversion is. Example, like registering for a webinar, adding a product to the shopping cart, getting a new client. Be aware you must define your conversion action. Clearly identify what you're testing, what you're aiming for, and the metric that matters most in measuring your results. The next term or lingo you should know is control. The page in the experiment that does not receive the treatment, that's your control. In conversion testing, the control is the version of the page that currently converts best. Any new variation is tested against the control. So in what we call an A and B test, the control is A, your test version or variation is the B. Now, the term variation, this is the page in the experiment that has received the treatment you're testing, the changes that you've made. For example, the variation page might have a shorter lead than the control page. Then you have what we call the quantitative data. This is any data that can be measured numerically, the number stuff, the data stuff, such as unique visits, signups, purchases, order values, or qualitative data. This is the descriptive data, the people stuff, that's more difficult to analyze but often gives context to your quantitative data. This would include your heat maps. Heat maps is what happens is you can actually go into your site and analyze it and figure out where are people pointing their clicks, where are people going more into your site. So there are softwares that you can use that for. Then you have your session recordings and your form analytics. Now, moving on to the metrics. Optimizers live and die by numbers. So what are the numbers that matter when you're testing? That's your conversion rate, for example. This is calculated by dividing the number of your conversion, whatever is defined, right, by the total number of visitors to the page you are testing. So that's how you look at that. Now let's talk about what we call confidence rate. Technically speaking, this is the percentage of instances that a set of similarly constructed tests will capture the true meaning and accuracy of the system being tested within a specific range of values around the measured accuracy value of each test. Pretty much in layman's terms, you're trying to avoid false positives. So the confidence rate shows how sure you are that your test is accurate. A good instance for this is, let's say your confidence rate is 95%. That would indicate that if you were to run the campaign 100 times, 95 of the tests would show your variant a winner. A common mistake is to interpret this as the odds of you getting your same results, as if a 95% confidence rate means there's a 95% chance you'll get the same results from another test. We're not talking about odds here. We're calculating the accuracy. In every test, you'll see slight differences. The confidence rate indicates you'll see differences, but not the degree of differences. Now let's talk about conversion range, okay? This is the conversion rate, is a misnomer, right? It makes it sound like your test will give you one precise number that you can call the conversion rate. In reality, expect to see conversions within a range, not as a precise number. So let's look at your team who's going to be in charge of your CRO. So these are the 3 roles that typically have responsibility for optimization and testing. That's your acquisition team, anyone responsible for acquiring new leads, and a customer should know how to optimize for more conversions. Even when this role doesn't do the actual optimization, they need to be able to identify whether lower than expected results are from poor targeting or on-page issues. Your marketing team needs to be involved. Every marketing professional should be able to understand the strategy behind conversion rate optimization at every stage of the funnel. They need to understand the basics of optimization as well, at the very least, so that they can identify the source of whatever issues arise, whether they're a problem with optimization, acquisition, or even qualifying. Your web developer also needs to be part of this. Conversion rate optimization, or CRO, often has technical elements that require the assistance of the tech team members who build web pages. Be sure these people know what your tests are about. Sometimes the changes you're asking for are not even best practices from a designer's point of view, and it helps them to understand what they're creating and why. Also, if you're using optimization tools that allow you to make changes on your own, give all stakeholders a heads up about your test. Otherwise, they'll see the changes on the website and wonder why the approved language or design has been changed. The bottom line for everything is this: if you don't want to be one of the marketers who are unhappy with their conversion rates, you've got to change your approach to digital marketing. You can't just wing it and expect results. The only way to raise your conversion rates is to begin testing and optimization. They actually say this, right? There's a saying that says, if you are doing the same exact thing, expecting different results, that is pretty much the definition of stupidity. These aren't one and done activities either, guys. They need to become part of your business culture if you're serious about growing your business. Which brings us full circle to everything, right? When you get here, you might have to start from the beginning again. This is the whole process of digital marketing, guys. And I want to let you guys know, yes, data can be boring sometimes. And that's why sometimes you need to create a team. You need to figure out what are your strengths and your weaknesses. And whatever your strengths are, double down on that. And whatever your weaknesses is, bring somebody else who has that as a strength. That's the goal here to create success. If you're not willing to do all of this for your business, then you can never really understand why your business is not doing well, or you cannot even understand why your business is doing good. This is the whole process. And this is just digital marketing for business. There's other parts of the business that also needs to be handled. We're just talking about digital marketing here, guys. So make sure you guys pay close attention. So that pretty much concludes this training. But we're going to continue on with our last section just to be able to pretty much double down on some points for you guys that I want you guys to pay attention to. So I'm glad that you guys have gone this far. I truly want to thank you guys for that. But also understand that keep on watching these videos, this training. These trainings should not be done just a one-time deal just to say you've done it. You guys have to understand the purpose of these training is to be able to have this with you all the time so that you can keep on coming back. You should actually listen to and watch the training 3 or 4 times to really just button down things, but then still go back and review things. So let's move on to section number 9 so that you know what's the next thing you guys need to do.